First up on the show, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held a bilateral meeting with the Secretary of Russia's Security Council, Sergei Shoigu, on the sidelines of the BRICS NSA summit in St. Petersburg. The meeting holds significance amid the possibility of India playing a role in the renewed push for peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. Now, after the meeting, Sergei Shoigu told Doval that Moscow values the Indian Prime Minister choosing Russia for his first full-fledged foreign visit following his re-election this year, while Doval told Shoigu that he belongs to a generation which has seen the India-Soviet Union relationship right from the beginning. Now, earlier in the conclave, Ajit Doval urged the BRICS countries to work together in tackling contemporary security challenges like terrorism and cyber threats.
The BRICS spirit of mutual respect and understanding, solidarity, equality, openness, inclusiveness, and consensus remains our guiding light as we deliberate today on many crucial issues.
All right, for more on NSA Doval's visit to St. Petersburg and what transpired there, we are being joined by the former Indian diplomat, Ambassador Anil Trigunath. He has served in the Indian missions in Bangladesh, US, Russia, and many more. Ambassador Trigunath, thanks very much indeed for talking to WION this afternoon. Now, we believe that there is some sort of peace negotiation that India has proposed to Russia at this visit. Can India really broker peace between Russia and Ukraine, and what would the broad contours of that be?
Well, I think that for a very long time, ever since this war began, India and the Prime Minister Modi have maintained that this is not an era of war, that this can only be resolved through dialogue, diplomacy, and respect for the UN Charter. And it is in that context that India's principal position that rest of the world has been requesting India to play a role. And India, as a voice of Global South, has also been trying to work on some kind of a ceasefire or a dialogue to begin. And therefore, we have seen that immediately in his third term, Prime Minister Modi went to G7, where he met Zelensky and several other world leaders. Thereafter, he went to Moscow on the first full-fledged visit and summit meeting, and where he had clear, very concise discussions with President Putin, understanding his mind, his red lines, and after discussing all that, and where he also mentioned, if you remember, that solution cannot be found on the battlefield. And then he went to Ukraine, he met Zelensky, and there also again the same thing. Despite what was talked about by Zelensky in the public domain, I think that he was clear that he is ready to talk, but the problem is that the two sides have two different vertical propositions. One is that Zelensky is talking about Swiss formula, starting from that communique, whereas Putin is saying what was discussed in Istanbul in 2 months of the war. And that is something that is two different propositions. And now this is the problem, is how do you narrow down the differences and how do you work on it? And I think that Prime Minister Modi's visit, which is now being followed by NSAs, and we also had Dr. Jaishankar talking to Mr. Lavrov in Riyadh. All these are indicating in a way that there is some possibility of finding a way. You might also recall that Prime Minister Modi spoke to President Biden after his visit to Ukraine and to President Putin.
Yes.
And that's why, although this current visit of NSA is in the context of the BRICS summit and the BRICS NSA meeting. But, Russia has also said that they believe that President Putin has been in touch with leaders from China, Russia, China, Brazil, and India. So that is the original BRIC.
Yes.
And therefore, I think that will be also provide Mr. Doval a possibility of finding out what are the others thinking on this matter is.
Okay. That's an important point you're making, Ambassador Trigunath, but I would imagine it would also entail mediation with NATO, the US, who also have a skin in the game. What does it say about India's deft diplomacy there? Because you're saying that there are two different peace proposals as well, and you have to bring them together to find some sort of resolution.
Well, the first thing that I think that the United States and NATO and the Western countries have to understand that the war has to end. Every war ends at the end. Now, how it is going to end is also dependent on the U.S. election results. Also, will have some impact on that, and I think that is what is worrying Mr. Zelensky a little bit more. And it seems that both sides have this war fatigue going on, and therefore are looking for some kind of an accommodation, not necessarily yielding the space, yielding territory, or something like that. But we'll have to see what will be the contours of this. Now, yesterday, as you know, that Secretary Blinken said when he was in Kyiv, and he said that we are here to find out what are the contours for Mr. Zelensky to negotiate or to start the dialogue while they are continuing to support him militarily and otherwise. So I think that pursuant to Prime Minister Modi's discussions with President Biden, they know that India can get these guys together. India can even be in a position to host a peace summit. And if that happens, I think that will be good. We can only try. We are not being mediators. We are trying to be the interlocutors, honest interlocutors in this.
Right. I know you're in a hurry, but very briefly then, Ambassador, does this open a third axis in a largely bipolar world with India and China, who may be at the forefront of this negotiation?
Well, I don't think it's a third axis, but if it does not get resolved soon, I'm afraid that we are heading for not only a Cold War 2.2, but also a Third World War. I mean, that will be the end of it. Therefore, I think it is in everybody's interest that all the, whether it is Chinese, whether it is Americans or the Western countries, Brazil, Turkey, everybody has a skin in the game, because Global South is what India is representing also, is very much suffering from this weaponization of financial instruments, food, fuel, and fertilizers. And therefore, it is impacting everyone, and it's time that the war ends.
Right. Ambassador Tiggunnath, thanks very much indeed for talking to us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.